B block. Sorry, I can't be with you today. I have to go to immigration. So we're just going to do this on a video. And hopefully you have it just set up for one person per table with their laptop open playing this video. And they'll need to be in charge of pausing this video when I need you to do something. So everybody should have their chart out right now. And we're just going to start with going over columns 2 and 3, the point of view and the characterization. So pause right now until everybody gets their paper out. Okay, so what we want to do now is review point of view. And we all agreed last time that it was very clearly a case of first person. So in the top part of your chart, in the second column, you should have written its point of view, and you should have at least 3 pieces of evidence to prove that. So you need to make sure you have 3 quotes there, listing what the words are, and also what paragraph you got that from. So, like paragraph 5, my mother slapped me. Paragraph 26, da-da-da. So if you don't have 3 specific pieces of evidence there, make a note for yourself that that's what you should have. Underneath that, it asks, how does that point of view shape our understanding of the story? I'm going to just be really honest. I'm going to tell you the answers today because I want you to really understand what's going on, because next time when I see you guys on Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to start a new story and we're going to do a new chart, which will be fairly similar, but you'll need to do it by yourself. So this time I'll just kind of tell you, here's what we're looking for that question, that bottom one on point of view. We want to say something like about how that first person choice that she made changes our understanding of the story. In other words, what would have changed in the story if she would have chosen like third person or third person omniscient? So let's just think about it, and then I'll kind of synthesize that. So if she would have chosen third person, we may have felt a little disconnected from our protagonist, because we would have seen the mother's actions and her feelings, as well as the narrator's, the daughter's thoughts and feelings, right? But when it's only first person point of view, we get to just hear the daughter's, and so we really kind of bond with her. And we have a very strong sense of empathy for our protagonist and what she's going through and the feelings she's feeling and the conflict that she's struggling through. So to kind of encapsulate all that for point of view, what we would write on the bottom part of that point of view section is Amy Tan's use of first person point of view allows us to empathize with our protagonist. Okay? It allows us to empathize with our protagonist. That's what we want to say. Basically, we're talking about how that choice of point of view affects our interaction with the text. Okay, pause the video here and have a conversation at your table and make sure everybody kind of has a good sense of what that's really all about, and help the people that don't really understand. Okay, so let's talk about column number 3, characterization. So again, characterization is just talking about when the author reveals the personality of a character. We could say when they reveal their character traits. Okay, we've talked about character traits all year long, but this is kind of a tricky thing to do sometimes, to distinguish between direct characterization and indirect. So let's try to remember it this way. If you notice that the author is plainly telling you as the reader what that character's personality is, or the character traits that they have, if they're saying it straight out, then it's direct, right? If it's not saying it direct, then it must be indirect, okay? If you're figuring out their character traits through their dialogue or what kind of things they do, then it's indirect. So what I'd like for you to do right now is have a conversation at your table. Just look at the direct characterizations. Everybody should have 3 examples of direct and 3 examples of indirect. And what I'd like you to do is share 1 or 2, maybe just one of your pieces of evidence for direct characterization. Go around the table, everybody share one, and if you feel like, hey, maybe that one's not really good for direct, maybe I need to move it to indirect, go ahead and have a conversation and help each other figure this out, okay? And vice versa. Then go around and everybody share one for indirect. But have a conversation and see if you can figure out if it's direct or indirect, okay? And go ahead and pause the video now until you do that. Okay, today's objective. Ready? I will be able to find evidence from a text to support a theme. So fortunately, that's not a totally new objective. Work with theme, but we're going to do some new things with it this time. All right, our language objective. Ready? I will be able to support theme with evidence. And I'll just read these sentence starters for you. The theme blank is shown through the character speech, actions, thought, etc. For example, when the story has the theme of blank because the message of the author in the story is that. All right, so let's go back and do a little review of theme. Theme, again, is the message that the author is sending through repeated ideas or topics. One thing I want to draw your attention to right now is that it is repeated. If it's a really strong theme, you should be able to see it more than once throughout the story. If you think you've figured out a theme but you can only find one example of it, that's probably not the best theme that you could choose. So we're looking for repeated ideas, repeated topics, repeated places where the author is sending us, the reader, a message. Okay, here's an example. So Paperback Princess, we might say that the theme of that book was that girls can be brave, or that girls can do important things, that girls don't need boys to save them. And maybe another one could be, you can use mental strength to overcome challenges, right? But looking at the Giving Tree, we might do something else. That theme might be something more like unconditional love. We might say something like, a theme in the Giving Tree is that when we love someone unconditionally, we want to give or do something to make them happy, even if the cost to us is great. Okay, so that's just a reminder on theme. Okay, so here's what I need you guys to do. You are going to grab a highlighter, a different color than what you used before, and you're going to take 10 minutes by yourself to review two kinds and highlight the areas where you think the author might be sending their message, where they're making a point, okay? So you're just going to highlight anytime you feel like, hey, I think they're trying to make a point about this right here. So after you do that for 10 minutes, then you'll have a table conversation and kind of share what you found. Here's what I think the theme might be, and here's the evidence I found. Third step, you're going to agree as a group which theme has the best evidence. The best evidence. Just a note here, different table groups and even individuals can find different themes in the story. This story has a handful of themes, but choose one as a team that you can easily support with multiple pieces of evidence. Okay, whoever's running the computer and pausing the video will need to pause it and also make a note of the time and let everybody work for 10 minutes before coming back together with your conversation. Pause the video now. Okay, so hopefully you guys had a good conversation and heard some interesting theories about a theme, and hopefully you chose one that you feel you can easily support with numerous pieces of evidence. Which brings us to this thing called the ladder of abstraction. So here's how the ladder works. Basically, you can go up or down on a ladder. Your goal in the ladder is to get to the top, obviously, because otherwise you wouldn't need a ladder. So the theme would be the top of the ladder, and the rungs on the ladder are the pieces of evidence that lead you up to that theme. So let's say you start at the bottom of the ladder. You would put a piece of evidence here, a quote from the story and the paragraph number, and then a second and a third and a fourth, which lead you to a theme, to understand the theme of the story. So it leads you up. Now I do want to say sometimes you can flip it around and say, okay, I started with this theme. Now how did I get here, right? I'm looking for this theme, and if I go back and look through the story, I find this piece of evidence, this piece of evidence, this piece of evidence, and this. Okay. You guys already have the theme, so what you're going to need to do is write in the theme and write in at least 4 pieces of evidence, quotes from the story that show that theme. So go ahead and pause the video until everybody at your table has done that. Okay,